Phil, Dirty Drive Away. Welcome back. Today we are in Welling, in sort of southeast London area, and today we are doing a block paved driveway, cleaning, sanding, and a two-coat acrylic seal. I've already cleaned this. We're on it's been about 5 days since I cleaned it, which obviously that video will be shown after the introduction. This introduction has been filmed post cleaning. So anyway, yeah, the clean's been done, as you will see, and today we're going to be doing the sanding and the sealing part. And obviously people have been asking about sealing, that kind of stuff. I don't do many videos on sealing. So basically what I'm going to do is going to get this get this sealed up today. So I'm going to start with doing the sanding. A couple of pointers on doing any kind of sealing work. You've got to make sure the block paving is dry. Now normally most manufacturers of sealers will recommend 5 to 7 days after cleaning, not 24 hours. It's just simply not dry enough. The joints have to be dry, sort of well below the joint line, not just the surface. It needs to be dry below. So obviously when you put the sand in, it is nice and dry. If the blocks are damp or there is any moisture within the joints, you will find that the sealer won't bind and you may get white blooms appearing. So basically ensure that it's fully dry, normally 5 to 7 days depending upon the drive. If your drive has got more of a slope, you will find that it will dry at the top, and you'll find at the bottom bit it can still be wet even after 7 days. So obviously make sure the weather is right. It's lovely and sunny today, and it has been for the past 5 days. We've had no rain. Rain is not forecast until tomorrow evening, which gives plenty of time for this to dry off. So this sealer we're using SmartSeal. It's a two-coat acrylic xylene based sealer. There is a 2-hour window between each coat, so you apply the first coat, and then 2 hours later you apply the second coat. So normally by the time you've done the first one, the second one is ready to apply. Drying time on this, they recommend no rain for about 8 hours, which is better than most other manufacturers. If you are using a polyurethane sealer, that is slightly different. That takes a lot longer to dry off, and normally they say around 24 hours of no rain. In this country, you ain't got a lot of hope. Polyurethane sealers are longer lasting, and they do tend to bind the sand a lot harder, but they are a lot harder to use and work with, and the application instructions kind of is a little bit harder, a bit more finicky, and obviously if they do get wet and polyurethane goes off, you're pretty bollocksed. It is hard as nails, and the only thing that really removes polyurethane is going to be some form of stripper. The good thing with a acrylic or a xylene based sealer, such as the SmartSeal one that we're using, if you do unfortunately get white blooms, which is normally if either the blocks are damp or you do get a unexpected shower, which obviously in this country you can do. If the blocks do go a bit white, you can get a white bloom that appears on the block, which is basically due to moisture within either the joints or on the block surface itself. You can simply just spray the actual affected area with the xylene chemical, which is a bit like thinners, but it is more, it's stronger, it's like pure. So you can spray the affected blocks or the areas with xylene. That will soften the sealer and reactivate it, and obviously releasing the white blooms that are within. So that's a good reason to be using xylene-based sealers. Excuse the noise, we are on a main road. The key to any sealing job is going to be in the prep. Now obviously you've cleaned it. A lot of people don't realise sodium hypochlorite, which is the main biocide that we do use as contractors for deep cleaning areas, got a visitor, can react with sealers. Now you will find that if you, because sodium hypochlorite in its natural form is a powder, it's a salt, so if you put it down onto a surface and you don't rinse it thoroughly, when it dries out it will turn powdery and will turn back into a salt, and it will leave you with a powdery residue across the surface. Now this salt residue can react with the sealer. It can stop it from binding, it can stop the adhesion. So you want to make sure that if you are looking at doing a biocide clean, which I did do on this, you do it as a pre-clean, so that when you are physically doing the jet washing, excuse me, got another visitor, when you are doing the jet washing, you are actually rinsing it all down, and then you are fully diluting the biocide. If you don't, you can end up with the salt residue on the surface, and like I say, it will hinder the binding of the sealer. and you can end up with white patches and you can have a big mess. So if you are using a biocide or you are using sodium hypochlorite, ensure it is really, really well rinsed. I cannot stress that enough. Really well rinsed. I've had umpteen people contacting me about sealers turning all funny colours, not binding properly, and then they say that they've used sodium hypochlorite, either way too strong, and it's turned back into a salt because they've not rinsed it. That's going to be your issue. So prepping, sealing, sanding, make sure you're sanding it properly. No one likes sloppy sanding work, especially when you're doing the sealing side of it. Make sure the sand is well below the chamfers of the blocks. Look at your blocks. This is a form of tegular style block paving. It's not your conventional 100 by 200s. This is a sort of tegular style block paving, so it does use a little bit more sand. It may use a little bit more sealer because the joints are slightly wider and you've got that kind of tumbled edge. This is not an aggressive edge. It's not a huge radius. Some of the tegular style blocks you'll see have got a very, very radiused edge, and you'll get like pockets in each of the corners where the sand collects. They will take more sealer. So yeah, basically these may take a little more sealer than a conventional sort of 100 by 200 block. So basically sand it up as normal, sweep it off really, really well. Use a garden blower, blow off the surface, make sure there's no, on. We are a busy road. Make sure that you've blown off all of the surface sand, make sure there's nothing left on the surface. If there is sand left on the surface when you put the sealer over it, obviously that is going to bind up and it will give you like a gritty feeling to the surface. So basically remove as much of the residual sand as you can and you'll end up with a real nice looking finish at the end. Yep, so that's basically it. I'm going to be using a pump sprayer to apply the sealer. You will find that by spraying it you get a not a better coverage, but you get a better depth, so you can spray it, really concentrate on the joints. Some people like to skimp on sealers. At the end of the day, the more sealer you can get into the joints, the stronger that joint is going to be. So by using a sprayer, you can really get it into the joints, get a nice good coat down. That way you'll get the best finish possible. Obviously with using a hand pump sprayer, obviously I use an IK9, which is a viton sealed sprayer. You will find that you'll get less coverage on the because you're putting more sealer down. To be honest with you, when you're looking at manufacturer's coverage guide, take it with a pinch of salt, because if it seems too high, it probably is. I mean, with SmartSeal they recommend 2.5 square meters a litre on the first coat, about 3.5 on the second, and I found that to be pretty good, especially on these tags. So if you're getting 2 to 2.5 square meters a litre on the first coat, you know you're getting good penetration on that joint. Obviously if you're getting sort of 3.5, 4 square meters a litre, which you may get with the polyurethane stuff because it sets harder, but if you're using an acrylic sealer and you're getting high coverage, you're getting sort of 3.5, 4 square meters a litre, you're probably not putting enough sealer down, and those joints won't bind properly and the sealer longevity won't last. You'll find that the actual sand joints will start breaking away, and you won't be able to clean it properly in the future. So make sure you are getting good penetration, you're getting a good coat, a good thorough flooding of those joints. That's what you want. You want that sealer to go into that joint, bind it all up. It's not all about block protection, especially block paving. You want to stop the weeds, and that's what most people's issues are, is weeds. So get that sealer into those joints. Obviously I know the customer pays for it, and you know, you may want to try and skimp a little bit to save on materials, but at the end of the day, if you want a proper good job, you want to make sure your sanding's well, and you want to make sure you get a good penetration and good flood with that sealer into the joints. Right, that's enough waffle for me. I'm going to put you up on a pole. The cleaning was done behind me on the van. It was quite a good angle. I may switch you over there. I've not decided yet, but basically you're going to be seeing me do the sanding in fast forward mode, and then again we're going to be doing the sealing. So we'll be sealing the whole lot. But yeah, that's it from me. Let's crack on with some sanding, and I'll catch up with you guys later.